Hello and welcome back to my channel, Lydia Lost the Plot. And can you believe another month has gone by already? We have now reached the end of October, officially the end of spooky season. And despite the fact that I told myself I would read spooky books in October, I have read none. Well, maybe one could be considered spooky. Okay, but it's a very firm fail in that area. But I have done quite a bit of reading this month. I've really enjoyed the books that I've read. So I'm going to talk you through what I've been reading this month, alongside the fact that I am also still obsessed with Rachel Chinariri's album, What a Devastating Turn of Events, which is very apt to my life at the moment. But it is such a fabulous album, and I have not been able to stop listening to it. But onto the books, which is what we're all here for. Also, look at my nails, look how pretty they are. Oh. The first book that I finished in the month of October was Fireweather, a true story from a hotter world by John Vaillant. Now this is a cracking non-fiction book. It is a book about there was a huge fire in a place called Fort McMurray in Canada, and it's basically what John does is he uses that fire as a kind of example to show basically the impacts of climate change and what is happening to the world and what is happening to basically industries because of the petroleum industry. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's weaved, the narrative is weaved through it, so it, you know, you get these snippets of what happened during the fire, and then that's also then interspersed with sort of statistics and facts and figures and things like that. And it's done really well up until I'd say like the last third of the book got really data heavy. And that just sort of, for some people who love stats in a book, who love that kind of non-fiction vibe, I think it would go down like a storm. But for me, that it just started to drag a little bit because I want to know what's going on in the fire. Let's be honest, it's my morbid sensibilities. But overall, a cracking read. I really like it. And also, it's out in paperback at the moment, so it's a bit cheaper and a bit less weapon wielding. So if you want to read it, I would recommend that one. Oh, excuse me. The next book that I read in October was Orbital by Samantha Harvey. Now I'm actually gonna hold up a couple of these because I also then read Anne Michaels' Held. I read both of these for my Booker Prize shortlist sort of reading challenge for myself because I really want to read the whole shortlist, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there, but I will just quickly, because I am going to do a video separately on these where I will review them properly. But Orbital was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's very short, it's very sharp, it's very observational, it's quite repetitive in places. I know a lot of people won't like that, and I think that's what's letting it down. I enjoyed the repetitive nature of it. It felt sort of like an absurdist play, like a bit of Samuel Beckett. But I think that a lot of you know, your average fiction readers will probably not be keen on that, and excuse the Tour de Bloody France that's going on outside. So I enjoyed Orbital, and I thought it deserved its place on the shortlist. It's a really cracking book, and she does a really good job of kind of keeping everything feeling very contained, claustrophobic, and have this sort of expansive space and that juxtaposition of those feelings. And I thought that was really well done, so I enjoyed it. I did. It's not my favourite book I've read all year, but I would recommend it, especially for people that like sci-fi. And if you like the film Gravity, it's sort of like that. If you like the film Sunshine, if you like the film, like sci-fi films that are more about the people than the space, this is one for you. Then I moved on to Anne Michaels' Held. I know that this has got a lot of flack, and you know what? I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was just, I don't know. Okay, so, oh, it's still got my bookmarking. So, how can I describe it? So the fact that it's not a linear narrative, it goes back into, it's a little bit confusing in places, and sometimes I think it's a bit hard to follow. This might just be me, I might be being a bit thick, but it was a little bit hard to follow in places, and I think that that can hold it back. I know that a lot of people weren't that keen. I enjoyed it. There was some absolutely beautiful bits in there, and I just think, yes, it took a really long time for me to get into it, but then once I understood what Anne Michaels was trying to do with the style and the narrative, I sort of just flew with it. It was really good. I'm going to read you this little bit that I've marked because I thought it was really beautiful. There are so many ways the dead show us they are with us. Sometimes they stay deliberately absent in order to prove themselves by returning. Sometimes they stay close and then leave in order to prove they were with us. Sometimes they bring a stag to a graveyard, a cardinal to a fence, a song on the wireless as soon as you turn it on. Sometimes they bring a snowfall. Isn't that just pretty and beautiful and gorgeous? And it's very much about grief and death and longing and loss, and it's really well done. I just say it's a little bit hard to follow, and I don't know whether that's because I read it in dribs and drabs, sort of going to and from work, in my break at work and things like that, so I wasn't like sitting down and reading it in one. Maybe if you do read it in one sitting, it feels different, it hits different, but for me, a little bit hard to follow, but so beautiful writing. I don't know why this is getting flack, but if you've read it, please tell me in the comments down below what you thought of it, because I'd love to know, and I will be doing a bit more of an in-depth review in the future. Now guys, the next book I read as an experiment. So I read this. Okay. Don't come after me. Don't burn my house down. Don't find out where I live. Okay? I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. It was tosh. I mean, I don't understand. People have come in my bookshop and said this is the best book they've ever read. Ever. And I don't understand how that's possible. I love a bit of chick lit, as they say. I love romance. I really enjoy a little bit of spice, if not a lot of spice, but this is not well written. It's just, please don't kill me, just don't. Less said about that the better. The next book that I read was, again, another one off the Booker Prize list, and that is Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. I love this book. I don't know if you can tell. Oh my goodness, is this just phenomenal? Oh, it is so beautifully written, and it elevates the ordinary. It just goes with everything she writes. I mean, I've read The Weekend by Charlotte Wood, but this is beyond. It's so good, and there are so many passages in it that I just thought, I can't believe that this has come out of somebody's like brain, you know. Like, I wish I could write like this. I mean, I could never, but it's just so well written, and it's such an interesting concept because it's about a lady that gives up her worldly life and goes to live in a convent, and she just sort of decides one day that she's going to do it, and it's about the ramifications of that, and, you know, making a decision and sticking to it. And, you know, she's not particularly religious, she's not sat there praying, she's not, you know, she just goes to be away, to stay away from the world. And it's set during COVID, and don't worry, it's not too pandemic-y. There are little touch points on it, and there are some things, plot devices in it that obviously hang on the fact that it's COVID. But without that, it's just such a brilliant book about isolation, about self-worth, self-esteem, about self-respect, and about looking inward and turning your will to yourself. It's just so wonderful, and I think Charlotte Wood is a genius. I've read The Week and I've read this, and I want to read all of her backlist because she's phenomenal. And I think this it's just cracking. I just didn't expect it to be like this. There's a book called The Book of Eve by Meg Clothier, which I thought it was going to be similar to, because that's also set in a convent. There's also some spooky stuff going on, and but this is far superior. It just does everything you want a book to do. It moves you, it teaches you things, it changes your perspective on certain subjects. It's just phenomenal. I loved it. So if you've not got this on your list yet, please do, because I think it's phenomenal. I really do. I feel like I'm not going to stop talking about that book. The last book that I finished in October was Ghosts of the Tsunami by Lloyd Parry, and I've done well this I've done well this month because I've read 2 non-fiction books, which I'm proud about, because I'm trying to increase my non-fiction reading. Anyway, this is a book about the March 2011 tsunami in Japan, the one that broke the Fukushima nuclear power plant, and it's about a school and 70 odd of its pupils who were devastated by the tsunami. The children died, and the families have been searching for the truth of what happened, why they weren't evacuated in the way that they should have been. And basically it's a story, well, not a story, it's an account of what happened that day. It's so brilliantly written. You can feel the empathy that Lloyd Parry has towards his towards all of the people he's interviewed, the families of the children that died, the teachers, everybody that's related to it. Really, it's just phenomenal, because you know, he writes with this sensitivity, but also an objectivity, which I think is really hard to master. But it's so good, and I can't tell you, I didn't realise quite just how bad the tsunami was. I mean, I've seen the footage, I've seen the images, and I've watched a few documentaries, but I think when you see something that's on such a grand scale, it's really hard to sort of fathom. It's a bit like 9/11. When you watch the footage of 9/11, you can't comprehend the sheer scale of the disaster and the effect it must have had on the individuals involved. And this is the same. So, but what it does is it really brings it in to the families, to the children, to what would you do in the situation, and the decisions that were made. It also taught me a lot about Japanese culture and tradition and language, which I really enjoyed learning about, because it's something I've not really touched on before. And yeah, it's just, I really liked it, and I think it's something that if you're interested in global disasters, I mean, I am, let's face it. Let's face it, you know, misery, death and disaster are my forte. But if you are interested in this subject, and you want a book that you know will give you the facts, this is one. It will also give you that empathetic tone, which I need really in a non-fiction book. I don't want to read something that's too objective. I want to feel what they felt. I want to see what they saw. And yeah, there's some really descriptive moments in this that feel like images, and it's difficult as a mother. It's difficult to read about dead children, and it's also difficult just to read about all of the harm and devastation that was brought to them by this natural disaster. But it's so pivotal that we learn about these things, and it's so pivotal that we share these stories, because, you know, my children weren't born when this happened, and without these kind of books we wouldn't be able to continue to learn from them and to hopefully improve on our reaction and response to such things. But honestly, cracking book. Really enjoyed it. Now, I am currently reading another Booker Prize book, Creation Lake. Now, if you watched my last video, my weekly wrap up, I told you I had no idea what was really going on. I'm now 120 pages in. That's not changed. Still not quite sure. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I just don't really know what's happening. I'm going with the flow. There's a lot of talk about Neanderthals. I don't know why. I can't tell you what's going on. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm hoping that the more I read, the more it might like unveil itself, like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. But at the minute, I feel a bit like the Scarecrow and I need a brain. Because I haven't got a clue what's going on. Anyway, they were the books that I read in October, and I have had a really fun reading month. It is my birthday today, so I will be getting some books for my birthday and I will be sharing them with you all. As soon as I've got them all together, then I will make a little birthday book haul for you all, because I know how much I enjoy them, so I'm thinking that you guys will enjoy them too. I'll also have a book haul, another book haul coming out for the month of October, because yes, I did purchase a few books. I did. I tried to show restraint, I couldn't. Let's just move on. So I've got a few of those for you, and hopefully that will be a fun little thing for you. And I've also got the Booker Prize videos coming out very soon, so keep your eyes peeled. But until then, thank you for watching. It's been wonderful to spend time with you all, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.